Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday, January 12th, 2023. Welcome to Yin and Yang. I am your host, Sanson.
I'd be Jacob Christner with the extra gray hair thanks to the light I've got on my camera.
And I am turning the mute on that stupid-ass fucking show. Pardon me. Sorry, on YouTube.
Yeah, we're not on anything yet. We're not anything yet, yes.
All right, good. It was like
we're
myself.
Not
it was like myself and then myself and then you and then you. And that's okay. All right, we're good now. We're good. Hi. All right. Welcome to our show. And tonight we got one very fun topic I want us to start with.
Yes.
Last week, the very interesting
vote in the House.
No kidding. Yes. The House Speaker.
Put up the banner.
Oh, yes. Show the banner.
No.
It's the Muppet Show. Our very special guest Speaker of the House. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight.
I mean, it was.
I wish we had animal.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
No. And it's like, and the favorite, it's like the Muppet Show with the special guest Kevin McCarthy. Yay!
Oh man!
Oh my Lord!
The name Kevin McCarthy was an old film actor from the 50s.
I know.
The very first Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And he did the 80s, and he was up into the 80s also, Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, my God, yeah. He worked until he was like 90-something. He died like, 10 years ago or something. He was like in his 90s.
Oh, my. And I'll tell you, it was, listening to it, I watched that whole thing. Watched it all, at least the one where they didn't hit it, and then I was asleep when they finally passed. But I'm like, it was the craziest, goofiest, most insane thing you'd ever seen in your life. Let's see. Every vote. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries. The Honorable Kevin McCarthy. And it's like, and then you see Matt Gaetz walking down. It looked like one of those monsters getting on stage for the Muppet Show. And it was just ridiculous.
We needed the hecklers. Woo!
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Stage. Yeah, the old men. We need those old men, the two old men on the top. Yeah.
That's what they're called, the hecklers. I forget their names. It doesn't matter. The two old men in the balcony going, boo, man, get out.
Yeah. They made quips and stuff like that. Oh, they definitely. And it's like.
Oh yes. And it was, now that I'm thinking about it, what were their names?
Go look it up.
Their names.
Waldorf
and the hecklers in the Muppet Show.
Waldorf.
Statler and Waldorf.
What?
Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's who we needed there.
Oh no, those two needed it. No. It's just, the thing is, government has turned to trolling. It has turned to trolling. And it's like, it has turned to revenge. It has turned to all of that. And it's like, I wish we would have had the thing, because later on, once we get production values, we could be able to do things like recording like the Muppet Show while they're walking down the aisle, because it looks like it.
Oh my God.
But here's the thing, who plays Miss Piggy?
Oh, I had a better idea. We need to show that whole thing and then have the robots from Mystery Science Theater.
Oh my God, yes. Oh yeah.
Have them in the audience.
No, we've got Crow and
process going on, and go like, man, I've seen Baptist just
Yeah, oh yeah. Crow and Tom Servo. Yes, we definitely need that.
Oh yes. That's a Mystery Science Theater thing right there.
That was just it. Every bit of it was just that ridiculous theater. It's like, and speaking of, we'll make this as part of ours, is this scene right here. Let's tell the audience here what we watched with Mystery Science Theater. This was your very first Mystery Science Theater. Tell your audience. Tell the audience what you thought of Mystery Science Theater.
We had the pleasure of being introduced to an old black and white film from the 60s. I think it was the 60s. I think it was. Called Devil Doll. Now, something about me, I'm a doll collector, just knowing, but I like nice dolls. I like artist dolls, and I like, when I can afford them, a one of a kind sculpt. As long as it's, I mean, I don't mean you're like your little Mattel baby doll type things, but I mean
Sure.
these are like limited editions, well crafted dolls. And this one, it was like probably the like earliest version of the ventriloquist dummy possessed by something or other, and but it was so lame. It wasn't even scary. If it just bordered on ridiculous. Well, I mean, bordered. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was so poorly made and edited, and sound quality, and the actor up there was such a overdone clown. It was just
British.
British, but all of the best actor in the damn thing was the damn fucking Muppet or
Yeah.
the dummy
Oh, yeah.
doll.
Oh,
'Cause it
yeah.
didn't do anything except sit there and stare.
And that made him that much better. But
Yeah.
but no, it's like it's we can now, and we're gonna see more of those as time goes. But it shows that it shows that Mystery Science Theater was a necessary thing to be able to show all of those, and it was great for people that wanted to make movies like ourselves to show that there was some green lighted garbage.
Well, and it's just fun. It's just fun. You're watching something that's so bodaciously horrible that how in the world did it even get a funding? Whose retirement fund? Who sacrificed their retirement money to make this thing?
Oh, wait till you get to later thing, and there is a 4-part, like it was 4 of these movies called A Tour. It was supposed to be kind of like it was supposed to be, I believe, like Conan of Italy or something like that, and it was just horrid. And they had 4 of these movies, and it was and then the bots got all of them too. They made fun of all those too. So it's like,
Well, I guess it's true. There's an audience for everything, okay? And there was probably more of those kind of movies made than really, really good ones, okay? On a percentage, on a scale.
oh, by miles, by miles.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no, and it's like, and it's the thing is, the biggest thing about it is the fact that it's like it's so you can tell it's European because it was Italian version of Conan, Ator or whatever. They call it Cave Dwellers on Mystery Science Theater. I guess they couldn't use Ator as a deal, But the biggest thing about it is Conan. You've seen Conan, right?
No, actually, I haven't.
Well, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Here's the thing about
I know who's in it.
yeah, but here's the thing about American. This is the thing. At least it's honest. Conan is just a brute. He beats things up. He kills things. Yeah, and so like that. I mean, I wouldn't call him the most intelligent thing in the world. He's just a brute, and he's got things, and he's tough, and it's all that stuff. They make Ator, and this is definitely European. Oh, he's tough and he's a fighter, all right, but he's also he's also a metals expert. He also can do surgery. He also, I mean, there's a billion things. And meanwhile, he's like 3/4 naked.
He's hot, tough, and skilled.
Yeah.
There you
so
go.
It's like you can tell it's European because it's like you can tell it's European because it's not just the brute that it's like I'm gonna kill or I'm gonna what I mean. It's like it's.
Well, more about that sort of thing in a bit, but let's
Yeah.
go on about the Speaker of the House. I mean,
Yeah.
what the hell took them so damn long? What was that whole thing about?
Well, for one thing, there were 20 hardliners that were afraid that Kevin McCarthy's a moderate. They were afraid he would do too much with the Democrats to be, that he wouldn't do investigations because they want to be able to do investigations, that he tried to stop investigations like that, on the Democrats, like they would have right there. They're afraid he would go along with the Democrats. So they wanted to make darn sure he'd go along with them.
Okay.
And they did 15 votes to make sure of it. And Trump getting on the phone with everybody, like, just vote present. And speaking of, by the way, like I said it to you, I'm going to tell the viewers right now, I have no question. Donald Trump is Swedish Chef. He's Swedish Chef. He is pork. Yeah, no, pork. He throws the foods around. He's throwing a chicken through the basketball hoop to go into the pot. There's a fire going on behind him. He's thinking he's getting anything done. But here's what's funny. The reason I say it's Swedish Chef because something always comes. Finished product always comes out in the end. That's the whole point of the Swedish Chef. There's like fire in the background. It's like all the chaos in the world, and for some reason, a finished product comes. That's Swedish Chef. That's Donald Trump. It's like he's throwing spoons. He's causing all kinds of chaos, everything like that. For some reason, a 15th vote gets it.
Well, good Lord, yeah. I mean, is there a limit on those things? I mean,
not at all. Could have kept going.
In other words, they could have gone up to 100.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no.
They need to draw. They need to put a lid on it.
What do you think of that idea? Donald Trump is Swedish Chef.
The Swedish Chef is more likable.
No, you're right. But I'm talking about the idea of chaos and throwing things around, chasing chickens around, doing all that stuff, and everything going on, fire in the background, and a finished product ends up happening. And it's
it certainly fits.
Yeah.
It certainly fits.
Yeah, and it's like, but yeah, Swedish Chef is likable.
No, I think there's someone on the Muppet Show for every single person in Congress, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
There's Gonzo the Great.
Uh-huh.
Miss Piggy. Who would be Miss Piggy?
See,
That's
problem.
a good question.
Well, you could say, here's the thing. You could see Marjorie Taylor Greene. Huh?
AOC?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't see her as
Miss Piggy's too glamorous, though.
Yeah.
She's
AOC, nah, because I don't see her as a stalker type like Miss Piggy. Miss Piggy is like, no, I could see, okay, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene because it's the blonde hair.
Oh, come on. Piggy's much better than Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'd rather have Miss Piggy for president. Hello.
No. We need. You know who Kermit needs to be? It needs to be the most logical person in the whole place. That's what Kermit is. He's trying to save everything.
Well, and who would that be?
That's a good question. he's trying to say. See, it's like Kermit is the one trying to save the whole show all the time. He's like, no, that's not the script. It's like we need to find that one.
Trying to have some law and order amidst all of it. I mean, who would you say is who's doing that in Congress right now?
Right. It's like who's trying to save it, and it's like that's the whole point. That would be Kermit, but who is it?
No joke.
But I wish this is where when we have a pile of people, watching, they're going to give us answers. And something like that.
Well, hopefully we'll start getting some comments and just throw it out there. Because, I mean, this show is about ideas.
Exactly.
Just throw it out there, even if you think it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's okay. But, we need to, get a dialogue and some conversations going, and we will. Now, which brings us to, beyond the lunacy that's happening in Congress, on a somber note, to bring up something very unfortunate that has been happening and still continuing to happening throughout this country. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I mean, it's just, why is obvious. Children, okay. And now, what happened recently with this teacher in Virginia? I mean, it's one of two things. This is a 6-year-old who does not comprehend the scope of the dangerousness of a gun. Okay, maybe he thought it was a toy. Maybe he couldn't stand. Maybe
I think he did comprehend it. I think he did comprehend it. That's the sad.
In other words, this 6-year-old intentionally took a gun to school to shoot a teacher.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that kid needs to be under psychiatric evaluation.
Yeah.
Because something's wrong there.
Yeah, it's like
very, very wrong there in his home, his family, whatever, or with him.
Well, see, this comprehension, the whole comprehending thing, it's like the kids are getting too. That's the whole point. As I was saying, is the fact the one thing I like. I'm just going to use an example of a movie real fast, like the Christmas Story. I don't like that movie.
Right.
But the thing about it is 1983, set in the 50s. The whole point of the thing by itself is there is a certain level of innocence with the kids. It's like they have the little flashbacks, and it's like he's going to use his gun, he's going to save his parents, that sort of deal. Which they have those, and it's like that's what a kid is supposed to do. It's supposed to have information. It's supposed to be a kid. They're not supposed to have a comprehension of these real world things in this, which is why I do bring up the little things about, when we bring up things like the cross dressers, and we bring up Hooters, and we bring up all those. It's like, because I want kids to stay kids, and they're growing up too fast.
What is happening is there's too much information at their disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even when you and I were growing up, there was no internet.
Mm-mm. No.
But we had television, but even then you had moms and dads who could regulate those channels.
Right.
Okay. You're not watching that R-rated movie. Okay. Not until you're at least 12 or 13, or you're old enough, 11 at the very oldest. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even allowed to watch R-rated stuff on television, even that they used to edit stuff for television. Okay. And we weren't, cable. I was older when we got that. So that was not the only thing that was violent. Was just standard TV violence, was cops and robbers and cars chasing, and they didn't allow 4-letter words, or it was cartoon type violence. Popeye beating up Bluto or whatever bullshit, and I knew damn well that spinach wasn't going to make me do that, because I hated the fuck out of spinach in those days. So, something else is going on with these kids. It's accessible to all kinds of imagery and information and stuff that they don't need to have on their damn cell phones,
mm-hmm.
or on TV, streaming or whatever, and not enough parents stepping in. How did he get the gun? And whose gun was it? Was it his mom's, his dad's?
Who knows? And it's like,
and was it loaded already? And that's negligence of having a loaded gun in a house with a child as young as 6.
And it's growing. The thing is, what makes me, this is what I think about, is like, we talked about TV violence and everything. I was like a fan of Mike Hammer, or Jake and the Fat Man, and all those type of thing. It's like, I was a fan of those. And it's like, you want to know what those were? Yeah, they carried guns because they're cops and they have to for protection. But growing up, I was more impressed in the fights. As a kid, the big muscles in the fights and everything. That's what I was when I was a kid. I couldn't have cared less about a gun.
No, that stuff didn't appeal to me either.
Yeah, it's like
girl.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I didn't have that. I didn't have a thought about shooting anyone. I didn't have a thought of it. That was my show once a week and all that kind of stuff. That it was rugged. It was all that stuff. But I didn't have a thought. It's like, okay, there's a shoot. All I thought about, the Mike Hammer or whatever, he's got to get into a shootout because he's got 3 guys shooting at him and he needs to protect himself. He's still not going to have bullets bounce off of him. You know that when you're 8. But those are the things. But it's like, now, besides the fact that you can see Mike Hammer intros on YouTube, it's now you're seeing everything on, you're seeing real life on YouTube. And that's the sad part. What used to be called the dark web has now come to life.
Well, TikTok as well.
Yeah. Okay. Which to me is the dark web.
But here's the thing, is that not enough. See, TikTok, it's exploitative, but in the worst possible way. It glorifies just violence and shit and just ridiculousness. Okay. Movies and TV that were made in an earlier era. I mean, even as early back as the 90s, there was some little bit of a morality play to all this stuff. If there was crimes committed, if there was, it doesn't matter how brutal the story was. Okay. It doesn't matter how gritty it got. There was a repentance happening. There was a comeuppance. There was a sense of, act of contritions, if you will, whether it's justice, bringing people to justice. Yeah. Kids are not given that anymore. Lessons to be learned.
Well, you don't.
Even cartoons used to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's sad about TikTok? You bring that up, and see, there's a thing now. There are even both Republican and Democrat states that are banning TikTok on government buildings. Even Democrat states too, and they've been more into China, so they're even seeing the dangers of this. But you want to know what? I read this from somebody. I heard this from somebody. I was talking to him one day. They said this is like a programmer, so he knows things about TikTok, and he is from like Vietnam or something. I talked to the guy. He said In China, TikTok is there. But all the programmers that do it, they bring their kids, you know what they have on their TikTok?
What?
Science, math. They have literature, little things like that. They'll teach things. But we are brought in chaos, fighting, violence, uselessness, everything. And it's on
Let me
purpose.
tell you something. There's stuff on there you can learn.
Yeah.
Nifty little projects that they'll do this quickly,
Yeah.
sped up of
Absolutely.
even interesting things with food. If
Mhm.
nothing else but little hobby type things. I'm looking at stuff and I'm going, that kind of looks neat.
Yeah.
But you've got to put that out there. And I don't know. Unfortunately, with that is also a lot of crap.
Chaos.
Unless you block it somehow, listen, how many times do I even go through Facebook and go, hide this, hide that, hide this?
Mhm.
Why did I see this? Just because I happened to watch something one time, and all of a sudden my inbox is flooded with shit. But I don't know if that has anything to do with this case, this 6-year-old, and how he got the gun, or whether it was given to him. The police are going to have to investigate that.
And it's.
And if I were that teacher, I'd pursue it to the max.
And she's probably going to, but it's like, see, and that's the thing. You get into kindergarten, that's 6. You get into kindergarten, you think you've got the one, you think you've got the one grade you can avoid all this. Like, remember, it starts at like 12 years old or whatever, 13 when you hear it. You think you've got the one grade you can avoid this, not even that anymore. But the violence is worse, so I apologize. The violence is worse, though, because it's like we're talking guns. They're beating up from high school on, the middle school on, they're beating up their teachers, too. So it's not just taking guns. It's like they're beating up teachers.
That's been going on. That's nothing new, really. But it's what's new is they're getting younger and younger. Used to it was like high school kids, okay? The high school kids, gang type kids, really troubled kids that have lived long enough with enough conflict in their lives or hardship that their only means of expression is to lash out. But a 6-year-old, that needs to be looked at. Okay, there needs to be an intervention there.
Well, here's the thing: at 4 years old, that kid was locked down. That was a lot of mental strain on a lot of kids.
But at 4, you're still very, very young. 3 and 4 is still very, very young.
All day long on every minute, all day long on, and you're locked down on social media.
But then that's 2
years.
It's parents' jobs to get in there and start working with them and, keeping that, making sure that their heads are all right.
Absolutely.
I live in an apartment complex with tons of kids who are on lockdown, just like everyone else. All of them from very, very young kids, toddlers and babies, up to high school, because I see the buses that drop them off and come get them in the mornings. So they all were, but it's parents, somebody in the home who's taking a little bit of charge there.
Well, you've known me. I'm just saying this. You've known me from the start of all of this and beyond that. And I didn't lock down a minute. I didn't lock 1 minute down, or about 4 days, I'd say, and you've known that. But the thing is, when I was at Men's Warehouse, I worked at a menswear. When I did that, I literally saw there was one time where we had a wedding we had to set up, and I saw a 12-year-old kid. It's like his second time out in 2 years. I mean, he was like this. And I'm like, it took a serious amount of time to get him to open up. And he finally talked to me, but it took seriously. He was just like this. I mean, I saw plenty of them like that. And it's just
that's unfortunate. And it really is. But and parents, I get it. They can only do so much.
Yeah.
I mean, kids at a certain age go to fucking fight their parents. It's just the way they are. At 12, you're just like, and at 12, there's a little bit of this going on anyway. Okay. So there's probably, even after that lockdown, even more so because kids couldn't commiserate with each other.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can work out your frustrations. And I feel for them, and I really do. But 12 and 6 are two completely different states of mind.
Yeah.
Ages, experience, and states of mind.
I know.
Something's going on with that kid. Okay.
I know.
And otherwise, you'd be seeing more examples of this. And you can't just put this on COVID.
No, well, the thing is, see, the thing is, there's a certain level of it too because you're locked down. But at the same time, you're right. It's the parents should have gotten them to go out. They could have hiked more. They could, but it also at the same time, it also depended on the state. Like I was in Georgia and Illinois back and forth for those times. You know what I'm saying? For about 14 months the amount of time I lived in that place, and I saw mom 6 times in 1 year. You know, 4 of the times I went into Illinois, and like you go into Georgia. And you know me, I was a little bit of a renegade when it came to the masking and all that. In Georgia, there were just more renegades like me. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I'm just saying, depending on the area, Sandy Springs, Alpharetta, those areas, they were just renegades like me. I went into Illinois, they looked like I had like shit coming down my ears. But when I did the same thing that I did in Georgia, and it's just like like. I could go out and I could go like walk and we could do all that in Georgia. In Illinois, they shut down parks.
but understand that this whole trend of violence is didn't just start with the lockdown. It's been evolving.
It just got worse.
Okay, yes. In some ways it did. You know, the whole Black Lives Matter thing. A lot of strife going on there, a lot of tension, a lot of pent up frustrations and things, you know. I mean, this kid is 6. I mean, he wouldn't have remembered the stuff that was going on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that his home needs to be looked at for sure.
Yeah.
And it's the case with any kids who go to school with guns or any such thing, metal detectors. And also, I have to do, when I go to see shows for, you know, music events or whatever, you can't bring a bag any larger than a certain size. I think it could be large enough to fit your cell phone and maybe some keys or something. Other than that, if it's bigger than that, it has to be clear.
Clear.
I ended up having to pay $10 to get this clear plastic bag when I went to see the Stones concert last year.
Right.
And I didn't even know about this clear bag policy. And it was hidden away in some email and some little fine print, you know, but nevertheless, school backpacks clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And stop them at the door when they bring bags in that aren't.
I see clear bags at the place I work at now. I see clear bags. That's just natural now. So so there's that. It's like, but you know,
and it's sad.
Yeah.
These are 1st and 2nd grade kids. Good Lord.
Yeah. And well, and the biggest thing, see, to me, the biggest thing that we're getting is the fact that it's like, and I'll say this. One thing I don't know what you were. I mean, you said yourself you didn't quite like gym class, recess. I mean, you were saying these things, but you know something? We had those things at least at the disposal during those times. You know, a break, you could get your energy out. You could get all that. I'm like, I talked to a kid at one of my workplaces the other day, and I said, "So what do you do at gym class?" "Oh, I don't know. They've taken away all of our sports at gym class because the teachers are afraid of violence. The teachers are afraid people will get hurt, so we just walk around now." And it's things like that are a problem to get the kids' energy out and everything like that. You're taking away competitiveness. You're taking away the fellowship. You're taking away.
Exercise is the biggest release, even for people who are stressed or depressed and all that. They recommend exercise. Are you okay over there?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
What's going on?
No, light went off for a second. I was just checking.
No, you were smiling at somebody.
Yeah, my landlord.
Is he listening in?
Yeah, I guess. Go ahead.
All right, well, whatever. I just wondered what was going on over there.
Yep.
I don't want to interrupt anything.
Yeah, landlord. Go ahead.
Exercise is supposed to be good for you. And even I didn't care for it as a kid because of being an introvert. And I was okay playing by myself. I just wasn't into group sports. There's your difference. But many kids, boys especially, and I know this because that's just the way boys tend to be, would rather be involved in a group sports physical activity.
Sure.
Girls, I could go off and jump rope however long I wanted to, or play with my own little ball and throw it and then whatever. Do whatever, rather than participate in a group sport. But I know how important that is. And when obviously they didn't have it or haven't had it, and many schools still don't have it, and why I don't know. Teachers afraid of violence?
Yeah. I mean,
What just happened?
well, here's where we're getting at. The overall, this is the overall of school, okay? This is where it gets me. It's like, these are the things I hear from itself, because remember, I've gone to the school like twice over those years. You pick somebody up or whatever. But here's the thing. You go to drama. We talk drama. We talk films all the time. So we talk drama. Drama. There are things, and it's not just the copyrights or everything like that. Everybody they don't want to touch it because it's the copyright, and they want to be woke. So there's a lot of great the literature and a lot of great plays out there that don't get made because of that kind of stuff. You get that, and that it's limiting. That you can't go to recess. Recess gets stopped in a lot of places. You get a lot of gym classes. They're walking around. You get all this stuff. It's not, everything is like a robotic deal with school. There's not any release. There's not that. And it's like by itself, and we're not thinking, it's such a different deal. And it's like, maybe it's what the kids know now, so we can't say it's worse. But those are the problems. I think violence will keep coming because they've got too much information, like you brought up.
Well, I don't know when, I don't think there's a clear-cut solution. The only clear-cut solution, I mean, when you and I were growing up, it already seems like a couple of old men and women like, oh, back in my day. Well, it's true. Yeah. There was less of these horrific things. I mean, yes, it probably happened once in the bluest of moons and in severe, extreme cases. Okay. And now it's just becoming a lot more commonplace. But we had PE, and as kids at a certain age, you ran out and you played in the yard in the evening. Yeah. You caught lightning bugs in the summertime. If it was too cold, then you could stay in. But, in dusk, the sun went down by 6 o'clock or whatever, and you went in to eat dinner, and that was your night. And even in the wintertime, my mom, at a certain age, got me involved in like dance classes, gymnastics classes, once a week. It's an activity that you could do where you could have that, socialization. Yep. Even if it was only one day a week. And also the little bit of exercise and training is good for the mind. It's good for the spirit. Yep. As I got a little bit older, I got into swim teams and stuff like that. But, that's what you did. What do these kids do today? I don't know. Play dates?
But
here's the thing. Play date.
Here's the thing with it. I've said this 1,000 times to a different amount of people. The kids of now are one or the other, and it's not in between. They're either incredibly, I call the word badass, who are doing like 2 or 3 jobs, and trying to go to college, be an engineer, do all stuff. Like, just go to Chick-fil-A and you'll see those kids. And they, like I say, so are 2 jobs. They make all their money, pay their car off. They do all that stuff, and they'll be multimillionaires by 22. There's those, or sitting around looking at TikTok all the time and just like, or they're listless, and there isn't an in between. Because the reason you notice there's not an in between is because there's less and less kids on the jobs or keeping the jobs because they can't get anybody to work. And those were the things.
I got to tell you, when I was in high school, and there were companies that would hire kids at 15, 16.
Which they do now.
Like little local ice cream parlors and things like that. I mean,
which they do now, but they can't get anybody.
Well, that's because these parents give their kids money. We had to earn ours.
Yeah.
I mean, after a certain age, I had to earn my money. If I wanted things at the mall, if I wanted clothes, jewelry, all right, get yourself a job. Start earning your keep.
Yeah. And
I mean, basic things were provided for. Food, clothes, if I needed them. But if I wanted that, cool new jewelry, new shoes, and this, I had to work.
And I'll tell you this, and it's like, I'll tell you this is easily I'm just saying this is easily a part 2 sometime. because we're probably going to see more of this coming up, and this is an idea, everything that we can talk about. Because one of the things about, because of YouTube and everything, we definitely need to get on to our next subject.
Okay. All right. Well, we talk about how things are, and now the topics you and I enjoy the most, and what we're getting involved in is as actors is film.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I'm exploring into film directing as well as being in front of the camera. I'm also jumping behind it now. I mean, I don't think there's any rule of thumb on how to best direct a film. Really, it comes down to what works. You sling a lot of shit against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So which one?
Talk to one director, talk to Francis Ford Coppola, and talk to Lars von Trier.
Yeah.
Worlds apart.
Yeah.
Worlds apart in their styles and their upbringing and in the content.
So you're talking between American and European, right?
Well, the best, most effective. Well, we're going to segue into that. Okay,
Yeah.
We're talking about film directing.
Sure.
There are some directors, and I have heard actors say this, who are just flat out terrorists. They're terrorists. Stanley Kubrick, poor Shelley Duvall had almost a nervous breakdown after the movie The Shining that she made back in 1980 with Jack Nicholson. That Kubrick was just vicious with her. Now, little old Shelley Duvall, if you ever seen her in the 70s, she was a little skinny, big eyes, and kind of was this little look about her.
Yeah. Wasn't she olive oil?
Yes.
Yeah.
Olive oil, Popeye. Yeah. And after The Shining, though, she just kind of drifted out of show business. She's just recently made a comeback, though, in an independent film.
She did a couple in the 90s, did a couple of stupid ones in the 90s, but other than that.
Fairy tale stuff, but nothing big.
Yeah.
She pretty much went off the grid.
Yeah.
She's back. She has come back, and you should see her now. She looks like she belongs on Hocus Pocus.
Right.
But who knows? That may be a thing for her. But Kubrick, from what I understand, was a very difficult director to work with.
So was the Hitchcock.
Hitchcock didn't abuse his actors, though.
I would say he sort of did with Tippi Hedren, but
his attitude about actors was actors are just cattle.
Right.
All right. Being one myself, and I think this is the advantage I have. I like to let actors just do their thing. I don't want to pull anybody back. If necessary, I'll try to push a little bit, okay, to get something specific out of them that I need for a scene, like I've been doing with you. Directing you, everybody, staged read at Live Arts Theater on February 6th.
You are.
I am directing the staged read with our gentleman friend, Jacob Christner here, and his co-star Jeffrey Liu, who are in the staged reading of a play called Red. This is about the painter Mark Rothko. And I wouldn't call my directing style a style. I don't want a style. I want to work with the team that I have. Okay? I'm not dead set on a certain kind of style when it comes to directing. A vision, yes. But how you get there just depends on the team that you have.
Well, you're going to have it easy on this one here, because you got a couple of. The thing is, a lot of times casting doesn't go the way things would go with a certain project. You've got a casting that's pretty perfect with the you've got the smaller. You got what is it, Jeffrey? You had the smaller. You got the smaller Jeffrey Rulo and a bigger, and bigger me, and then it's Rothko and Ken. And
yes.
And you've got those, and it's like, there's a lot of chemistry there, and all you have to do is give a couple of little directions, and we're both listening to them. You're going to have situations when you're directing where it's like you got to think some instinctively, because there's a tough one there. And
I think what's going to happen in the next 6 months is I finish out my director's intensive with Live Arts, and I know that how they work there is they're a teaching theater, and I'm involved in a director's intensive, which is basically a free education, and it's just I'm thankful I'm in a place now where I can do this. I've got a good job, income, which is what we all need. The starting actor. I don't have to go into that story, but this wonderful, decent income and job that I currently have, which is allowing me to do this. But there's going to be times, I think, and I kind of I hope you don't ever want everything to be too easy all the time.
Right.
You don't ever grow or learn that way.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you don't want it to be too difficult right away, because that could scare you off. Okay.
Yeah.
The timing has got to be very good in things like this.
Yeah.
And I think I'm assistant directing one show now. I'm directing this little staged read, and I told Becca, who is part of Live Arts, way back, I said I prefer for myself, and I would work best with a smaller cast. That way, I can give more attention to each individual rather than have to deal with a huge ensemble.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I prefer it. I don't like having all this. This is why I make a lousy school teacher. I don't want a classroom for 30 kids. I can handle 2, 3 at a time.
Yeah.
All right. That's like private coaching, but I don't even want to do that.
Well, and the thing is, and the biggest thing is, like, as far as directing myself, I'm going to use the idea of what my directing would be based off of the idea of coaching. I brought this up on one of the shows last night I was on. Like, if I was a coach, blah, blah, blah. The whole point I look at is I literally want to know what's inside of their head. I want them to be able to start talking to each other. I want chemistry. And then I want to hear what I mean. I want to hear from the actors. Okay, what was the reason for this? Where did you come with this? Why did you go over there? All that. I want to hear what their reasoning was. I like the idea of letting the actors do their work, and I want to see what their motivation was. And I want to get it because I can learn from them, because they might have something different from what I wrote or what my idea was that might be better.
That could potentially that has a potential. I mean, that does work sometimes. Certain actors are better at that, whereas others, myself, I prefer to stick to a script.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if there's issues within, then you sit there and reconsider the script. I do not believe in just improving your way through a production unless it is an improvisational show. That is an improvisational show.
Well,
that is an art in and of itself.
Well, it's not improv what I'm talking about by itself, because there'll still be script or whatever. I just like for instance, there'll be directors or coaches of a sport or anything like that try to do every little detail, put every ingredient, get everything. Where does the actor, where does the player, where does anybody learn is what I mean. In fact, I want to see what their idea is also, then I might learn from it.
Well, this is where it comes down to, I feel the importance of rehearsals, especially when there's not a lot of information in the script that really tells you what's going on. Okay. It's just a few. There are good writers and there are bad writers. Okay. You and I have experienced both.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I would rather sit down and go over a script and work it out like with, reading with someone and getting their thoughts. I have tried to do this on several occasions, but to no avail. I mean, it just kind of there's people that can come and go from productions. They quit, they leave, they're replaced by somebody else. You have no time at all to work at it with them because they've just jumped on board. And then you have a day or so before you actually film. Well, some of us have had the script a while and have had to, had the chance to look over it and go, okay, I can see that happening here. And I wonder how this is. What's the best way to do that? You've had it a little while. You can think about it. But then when you get on the set and things start changing around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like that. I don't. And as a director, I wouldn't do that.
Well,
I would not stay on a set that did that.
Well, and we know this part, and it's like that. And see, my main thought process is I like the idea when I am teaching somebody I look at it as being the teacher. I want to hear their idea. My idea of coaching, like acting coaching, for instance, teaching, and yes, of being a director. I love the idea of seeing where their mind is, where they're okay. What is this? Yours might be better. It's like, does that mean getting off script? Not all the way off. I don't want that. In the end, it's a script. I want the story to go.
Do you think that an actual working environment is the place for that?
Yeah,
You're talking about?
I do. For myself, it does, because
What about other actors around who don't want to wait around while you work with actors who need more work?
well, you're going to have different things. Like, for instance, I think about a specific project we talk about, and we're not going to bring the name up, where dang near everybody's new. So there's that part. You get my point.
That's what the importance of rehearsals are.
Yeah.
And participation in it.
Yeah.
Is when you ask questions.
Yeah.
And why the so-called director only showed up to like 2 of them. And there were like 5. We had like 5.
Right, I understand that. It's like, but no, those. But really, I wanted to ask, for the film directing, I wanted to ask you one question. Right away, you've watched so many movies, and we're going to be making fun of so many of the MST3K ones. You know what I'm saying? We're getting at, what is the difference between European and American?
Approach to storytelling, approach to characterization, approach to resolution. Americans want the hero. Always. It's not even a matter of having a real, actual representation of a person that has all the nuances, the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? Which is the actual name of the film.
Yes.
The spaghetti westerns are probably the only American films that truly showed human nature in a certain environment, which was probably less than ideal for most people. The Wild West. Survival was the key. But the spaghetti westerns were called that because they were directed by a European.
Italians.
Sergio Leone. Yes. He understood, okay? And that finally introduced those ideas into American audiences, when prior to that, it had been almost strictly European. Your French understand the nuances of sexuality and relationships and, how people are. And the Italians understood heroism and battle and conflict, but their stories, their history is a lot longer than ours.
And
goes back a lot further.
You brought up Italian. There is a really terrible, on Mystery Science Theater is a really terrible one. Ator is like 4 movies, horrible movies. But here's the thing, the difference you can tell. It's supposed to be the Italian Conan, I believe, from what I'm seeing. I did not verify, but way less bulk. Just like a long-haired pretty boy with abs, that sort of deal. Probably weighed 175. But the thing is, here's the deal, though. Conan's a brute. He kills things. He fights all the time. He gets captured. He goes fights. He fights some more. It's like there's a story behind it, but he fights more. They made Ator, they made that story. This guy fights. He beats things up, but he also is a master of knowing metals. He also knows surgery. He also knows, he has a billion skills and all that stuff. And it's like, to me, that's a European thing also. He's not just he's not just a one-dimensional brute.
There's your big difference. Like I said, they understand nuances of human nature. Just because you do certain things, like you said, beat people up and whatever he does, doesn't mean he lacks skill in another area.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole attitude of, well, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Oh, but the best lovers were fighters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah, baby. In the sack, they were the best.
Well, and those were the things I thought about, even though those were 4 terrible movies, and the bots make fun of every one of them. But that is what you see from a deal like that, from those type of things, is the fact that even the terrible European movies like that are thinking with such nuance of,
yes,
he's 75% naked, he's got little bitty tight shorts, all that stuff. It looks ridiculous, and it's like, and all that kind of stuff. But even then they're showing, oh my God, surgery. Oh my God, this. Yeah. And it's like it's so different. Even the terrible movies.
Well, again, that's just, if you watch a French movie. Now, I have seen, I've spoken about actresses. Now, I don't know who they are as people.
Yeah.
Okay. But in terms of the characters they portray, I saw a fan. I have a much greater admiration for European actresses, women in film,
Mm-hmm.
than I do for the American. Now, yes, there's some American ones that are great. Okay, don't get me wrong. Allison Janney, hello.
Be a great European.
Kathy Bates, hello.
Hey, Allison Janney would be a great European actress.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, she already kind of is in her
Yeah.
own way. I mean, look at the stuff she's doing. But I've seen even the younger women in Europe carry themselves with a whole different. Every young American actress I see on every single goddamn show or movie, it's like they all just have this vibe about them. Daddy, take care of me.
Do you think that's still this way in the 2022?
Yes. Oh, hell to the yes.
Excuse me, 2022.
Look at shows like ER. All the fucking young women that come in there who are patients. The daddy didn't take care of me. Or even the young nurses, they look up to the big doctor and they just have this little, Europeans,
Whoa,
that shit.
Dude, ask the question though. It's like the ER is a little while back. I was gonna say, is there in 2023? You still think there are examples of the shows though?
What Chicago Fire?
Is that still take care of me?
It's
Is that
10 years on? Yes.
Yeah.
Especially the younger women who are victims. They're playing the victim.
Right.
That's what's the big difference there in European actresses and films and TV shows with European cast and writers and directors. They're not so busy playing the victim.
I see. It's like, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that's one of the big things that I see. One of the biggest things I see with the differences now is the fact that I am noticing that there are certain directors that are trying. They're all trying. I mean, by itself, a lot of like politicians, a lot of the commissioners in sports, a lot of there are producers. They're trying to bring in European sensibility. Hell, Trump even tried to make a European. He tried to do an executive order to do European style buildings, which got shut down by this administration. This is Trump, mind you, the guy who's about as classical as Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? I mean that guy, and he even tried. And that's the point about it. There's a lot of things that are trying to get that European classical look into the United States now.
Well, I certainly would like to see that happen a little bit more. Our bland government buildings are just horrid.
Do you do that? Like the idea of the executive order to try to make the buildings more European classical?
I don't even know why you need an executive order. You need to commission an architect. You don't need an executive order. Why? Why?
That's just our government. But I'm saying, do you think the idea, even if executive order, why do you think the idea was good?
Sure. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
But what are you going to put in the style of European in what exactly? The Gothic cathedrals?
FBI building, the IRS building, those types that were trying
to those specific buildings, but how do they want to make it European? What was his idea?
That's the thing we don't know. But the thing is, here's the thing. The idea, the buildings that we talk about are very brutalist, as they call it, very brutalist style. And it's like, we don't have the idea what he meant by those things itself, but at least it was the idea. We never heard them before. We never heard that before that part. So we don't hear
the facade, the corner is the post on the corner of the building go up and have this little sculpture of something, but it has to represent something. And maybe that's what our government was trying to say. In France and in Germany, Czechoslovakia, Prague, all those Central European countries, most of them are Catholic.
Yeah.
A lot of them have representations of, whether it's a church or not, they have something in there that represents their culture. Yeah. What would represent American culture? I mean, you've got the Washington Monument and you've got the Lincoln Memorial. And where are you going?
Running out of. I want us to finish our show, and I'm running out of battery. I want us to finish.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Me too.
I want to finish. I don't want to lose you, so that's why I'm doing that.
So I think it's a great idea. And again, this has to be budgeted. This has to be budgeted. States have their own theme.
So,
New York is the Empire State.
Yeah, states.
New York has a ton of buildings like what we're talking about.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And like go further down. New Jersey is the Garden State. Now, you can get really cheesy with it. Now, I don't think you need to put flowers or anything that represents art, but you can have buildings that have a structure that represents something about that particular state.
I know.
And around it.
I know. Here's my thing. We think of Georgia. Do you think there's some areas? Do you think there's some areas right now, truthfully? I'm just saying, do you think there's some buildings around Atlanta that need help?
Yes.
Like what buildings do you think need a classical what buildings do you think need a classical renovation?
Oh God, just go downtown and look at any of them. Now there's a lot of new buildings being built that are very modernist. They're glass and they're very Frank Lloyd Wright-ish. You know, they have the jutting out patios and the wrought iron. I mean, there's some stuff being built now that's more contemporary. Okay. But if you're going back 30, 40, 50 years with that brutalist structured brick and however, but you could just throw a stone at one, you know? I mean, I can think of the building that I work in. I work in a government building. I'm not going to say which one it is right now, but it is a government building. And it's down there, the hotel district. But if you look at the Marriott and in the Hilton, the Hyatt Regency, that's got it's kind of neat. It's futuristic, sort of. Now, I can deal with futuristic, okay? But all in all, just that mid-century sort of brutalist thing, I don't know.
That was very Nixonian.
Yeah.
That came in his era. So those were the big things by itself. It's like, that's why I see, like I said, I can make fun of Trump like we did tonight with the Swedish Chef. I can also very well say that there was ideas that he would make, and that would have been a really good idea. I wish they would have Biden would have left that one alone and just like pretend, because when Trump went out, they pretended nothing happened. They're trying to pretend nothing happened. I wish he would have left that one alone and just do something with it, because we do need a different thing with buildings.
Yes, I agree, but we also were talking about film and how film
Sure.
American the rest of the world. And I'll give you an example. All these reboots and American remakes of foreign movies, it's hit or miss, okay? Because the foreign movies, depending on where it's made, whether it's in Sweden, whether it's in Japan, and especially the Japanese, okay? Especially the Japanese. Their way of storytelling and their mythology and their culture is a flip-flop from what the United States is, and it doesn't always translate.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same message. And it sure as hell doesn't have the same visual approach.
I don't think they have as many. Let's see. They don't have like I said, Ator 1, 2, 3, 4 on that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they have as many sequels on theirs. I think they can finish their story out a lot better than the Americans can. Although I will say this, the best Blade story was the 9-movie Marvel deal. I have to admit that, because I did see those. From the beginning with Iron Man all the way to the very end when Iron Man dies and Tony dies was beautifully made, but that took 9 movies.
Right. And also they're superheroes. They are fiction.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fictional characters. They're here to save the day. All right. Again, the same thing. Look, the Japanese had Godzilla.
Yeah.
How many movies of that did they make?
Right.
A lot.
Well, remember, the Japanese also have a certain level. They have a certain. I'll tell you this. There was a friend of mine. His name was Nathaniel. I forget his last name. You two would have been best friends, because he had a 1927 camera That from that, and see, I'll tell you this: you're gonna hate me for this. He gave me one of his handheld 1923 cameras that got lost in a move, one of my many moves. I had one of those, and they got one of my many moves, and it's like it was a 19
Ugh.
like a little collector's item. He had a bunch of cameras from 23, 27, 32.
Oh.
He knew every single the thing from about European style to Japanese style to he knew every detail from American. He was talking about how Germany, how we took a lot from Germany. He had
Yes.
such a knowledge. You two would have been best friends. I wish I could find him today because he's such a film file. He had such a knowledge of old school film.
See, that's me. And I can look at those old films too, and I do. But back before World War II, Americans were making movies that were closer to the European
Yeah,
because the cultures were so close. The European influence was so strong till about the 1950s.
yeah.
Okay. Then it's all about American and apple pie and all this, bullshit. Okay.
Well,
I'm sorry, it's bullshit.
it's the same today in the same. It's like it was all American and apple pie, and today is about there's certain things with woke that they. But either way, it's what makes money.
There's the big difference.
Yeah.
Film and Europeans weren't designed to be a commodity.
Oh,
It was propaganda.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Europeans. Oh no, Europeans and everything. I mean, Europeans and good lord, Europeans in pro wrestling up to about 10, 12 years ago. Even them, all sport. They even had rounds, just like boxing. Everything was a sport thought process of doing moves, and no one had a body on them. I mean, they were all skinny as hell or fat. No one had a body on them, but they were athletic nonetheless. It was such you could just tell that every single one of them had a beer in them at all times. But it was like, but everything was treated as a sport, even on that. European was just is always just so different. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, even then. So it's like even like I said, I bring up wrestling just because they, even though it's an act, they made the choreography like a sport.
Well, the difference between the European and the American essentially is what boils down to what's going to sell.
Yeah,
Okay. But Europeans have to sell also.
yeah.
They got to make a living, they got to eat. But their mentality and their outlook, we could sit down on Netflix and watch films. Now, some of them are bad. Okay. I mean, granted, they're not all great. I'm just saying that the thought processes and the writing and the story progression and the way it's told is it's just a very different thing. All
Well,
right.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's far less sensationalism in those cultures when it comes to their films and their stories than there are in typically American.
Well, another theory I have too. Another big theory I have with all this is even in the rough and tumble Cockney accent type, from the British, even the rough and tumble, the poor, the blue collar, some of those people were brought up with something resembling literature around them.
Of course, they had to.
Yeah, and it's like even if they're not well read, even if they're just blue collar workers, even if they're anything, you're still brought up even with a book in your house.
Well, that's because they take pride in the education of their people.
Yeah, that's even the blue collar and the Cockney accent and everything. Even if they've never read the book, it's around them. That's probably the big difference between, with like I was saying, the sport of what I was bringing up, the quote unquote sport. It's like they're not trying to rough you up. They're not trying to cheat. They're trying to. They're one's a ruffian, one's a good, but then they're putting a sport out to it. That's the whole thing compared to America. What sells? And it's like that's.
Yeah, but I wish we could meet it halfway somehow. I think there is a way to meet it halfway. I think because here's the thing: when given a choice, most people are going to take the easy way out of anything. Okay. You have these type of shows that we're talking about now with streaming, where people are sitting there on their couches in the living room or the bedroom and watching streaming content on TVs that fit the entire space of the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to paying $20 and going to sit in a movie and then paying another $20 for popcorn, another $10 for a Coke or some, and then you've blown $100 just on the movie night.
Yes.
These days, there's got to be something that you want to draw you into the theater. Okay,
Right.
It's got to be something really spectacular. Me, certain things like The Matrix. I wanted to go see The Matrix on the big screen, not because I wouldn't have enjoyed it here at home, but I wanted the experience like I had the first time around when I saw the first Matrix all those years ago.
Well, a 20-inch screen that makes it something big. You know, it's something different compared to like a 35, 40-inch TV.
And when the new Indiana Jones movie comes out, I'm going to go see it too.
No, darn straight, and absolutely. And Top Gun was awesome.
Top Gun was great.
But see, that was I'll tell you this, that was a very well done story. Because it just showed the story. There wasn't a whole, even though he's still cocky, there's a whole lot of doubt because he's getting older. You know what I'm saying?
Well, now, this begs the question here. This brings us into our next topic, the last one for the night.
Yeah.
We've talked about Indiana Jones. Let's just throw this out there. So he's getting old. Okay, so Harrison Ford is old. 80 is old. All right. He's not dead yet. He's still got his marbles. He can still speak. But a question that an interviewer asked him a couple of years back, really early in the new Indiana Jones, he said, this interviewer asked him, he said, when you're gone, who can you see playing Indiana Jones? And Harrison Ford laughed. He said, no one. He said, I'm Indiana Jones. And I was like, yes. Which, of course, whoever gets their clutches on the property, Lucasfilm or whoever owns it, can do whatever the hell they want to it after Ford is no longer with us or capable of playing the character. But he's in it for one last round. And I would never, ever, ever want to see any different actor play that character.
Now, I'm going to ask this question there because there was supposed to be one, and then they, because of the strike, and they couldn't do it because of the thing, but Tom Selleck was supposed to be him. How
When?
What?
When?
Very first one. They were going to cast
way back in the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yep. It was going to be Tom Selleck. And I was like, what do you think he would have been like? Because remember, he's 6'4", and he was pretty good. And he was a pretty dang good actor. He
was great as Magnum P.I. I think he has the swashbuckling thing down.
Yeah.
I don't think he quite has the same sort of charm that Harrison Ford has. Harrison Ford kind of has an all shucks. I mean, yes, he can kick the living shit out of you, but is it more out of luck?
A lot of it's luck. A lot of it is luck. And
right. You see, Tom Selleck is more cunning. Tom Selleck is more, he throws a punch, it's going to be bullseye.
Yeah.
But with Harrison Ford, he's almost like flying by the seat of his pants, which makes him so much more likable, I think.
And Tom Selleck's very, 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 even to this day, 77 years old, good looking. Even to this day.
It's not just a looks thing.
No, but that's the thing. Harrison Ford's looks were very rugged, good looks. Very rugged, good looks. He actually looked like an archaeologist that's been whipped. He had that whip on his that hit his whip with his chin and stuff like that. He's been through the desert. He looked very what's the thing? He looked weather worn, like he's been around the world. Tom Selleck, I don't know if you could make him like that.
He comes off as a little too debonair. He's a little too debonair.
More Bond.
Yeah, closer to Bond. But Harrison Ford is kind of way about him. And when he's running through the streets trying to find Marion, I just watched them. I had the Blu-rays on right now and have been enjoying those. But
with Magnum, they tried to make him a little aw shucks and everything, but the guy is mind you, they'd have little things where he'd make mistakes, he'd get beat up, or
I loved it when the dogs used to chase him and he'd go, hands!
Yeah, they tried.
Oh my God, that was so fucking funny.
Yeah, oh yeah, what? He'd be hilarious. But they tried it with him on that. But even then, it's part of a show to be able to get it to make him that he's not so predictable. It's not Walker, Texas Ranger from the old days. At least they tried that. But the thing is, you're right, very debonair. Harrison Ford is not a debonair person. He's
No,
good.
he's not.
He's good looking, but he's rugged. Like he is oil rig rugged. You know,
He's this like almost put upon. He's a little bit of a goofball. No, he's serious. His character is serious about archaeology, but when he gets down to the wire, he's kind of flying by the seat of his pants, and the little bit of hope thing going on, and he's a little bit funny. He's comical.
well, he looks like an oil rig guy, or he's been weather worn. He's been around the world. He's had to walk through deserts. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you can make Tom Selleck weather worn.
Not like that.
No.
But as we would go on about other actors miscast, now you said something about Jack Lemmon was supposed to be
Oh, he's supposed to be Sundance, and Butch Cassidy is Sundance Kid.
Butch Cassidy. Now, who ended up being cast as Butch Cassidy?
But that was Paul Newman, I believe. Unless
okay, Jack Lemmon, Paul Newman. I mean, that's like
Paul Newman or Robert Redford, one of the two. Either way, it's whichever one played that. But see, that's the problem. Whether you played Paul Newman or Robert Redford, you know what Jack Lemmon was great at?
comedies.
Well, great at comedies, but he was also great at the absolute depressed guy who's been beaten down by life.
The Days of Wine and Roses.
Yes, he's been
Days of Wine and Roses. That was one of the most tragic films about alcoholism that I've ever seen.
And he was an alcoholic himself, but it was like that's the thing. He was whipped by life, but he's so likable that you root for him. That's what he's great at. Paul Newman and Robert Redford were those were just real movie stars.
They were the cool dudes.
They were cool. Both of them.
They were cool. Even in Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman, he just took everything they threw at him, and he was just kind of like. But Jack Lemmon, and he was in the movie with Sandy Dennis, something about travelers. They were traveling.
What, the salesman?
No, hang on. I can't remember the thing of it now.
But yeah, but see, the thing is, I can't see Jack Lemmon playing a cool. I don't see Jack. I think he's a great comedian. He and Walter Matthau were wonderful when they did things together.
The Out of Towners.
Yeah,
that's what it's called. The Out of Towners. Him and Sandy Dennis. That was a comedy, screwball comedy made in 1970. And of course, they were trying to get somewhere. And you know how things go wrong? It's that planes, trains, and automobiles thing. No matter what they did, something would go wrong. And yes, he was that put upon guy, but you kept rooting for him because he eventually it was going to happen. But it was just every step of the way he hit a wall,
Yeah. And those were, and see, but to me, Jack Lemmon isn't. I think Jack Lemmon is an exceptional actor.
Oh, he was.
I mean,
Some Like It Hot. He was great.
Yeah, love exceptional actor. But like you said, he is. We can say right now is Paul Newman and Robert Redford were flat out cool. Robert Redford in let's see, not The Color of Money, that's the '80s version, but The Hustler. With Jackie Gleason, another really cool dude. Jackie Gleason was even for a fat guy, he was well dressed. He just had a cool to him. He just moved so well. And that's the thing. Newman and Redford just move so smooth. They're cooler than the other side of the pillow. I mean, here's the thing about Jack Lemmon. He's always stressed. Even if he's happy, he's always stressed.
You see him playing Josh Lyman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you could see him being Josh Lyman older. Like, if you look forward to the years and everything, he'd be older.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. He's totally got that. Him and Bradley Whitford, that same sort of type personality, Always, look, Jack Lemmon in The Odd Couple. He's the one that's cleaning everything.
Well, they're tighter than a drum. And it's like, that's the thing with Jack Lemmon. It's like, you're tighter drum. You and I both watched Glengarry Glen Ross. And it's like you're playing a guy. He's playing a salesperson who was once the star. Now Ricky Rome is the star, but he was once the star. He's trying to get his star back, and he's stressed. His family's in trouble, and he has to have this one thing. It's like perfect for it.
Well, and that's why, and I'm even going to play devil's advocate here. Why casting is so essential in storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay. The Interview with the Vampire was sold, Anne Rice's novel was sold back in the 70s after she wrote it, and it became, kind of a bestseller, and they sold the rights to Hollywood. They were going to make a movie of it. Then they shelved the idea, but at the time they were thinking of, drum roll please, John Travolta for the role of Louis, who is this effeminate, very tormented soul who hated the fact that he was forced to kill to survive. He was made into a vampire against his will, which most vampires kind of are. That's kind of how it works. But Lestat, who was this psychopathic, I love my evil self. He loved being what he was, the predator, the seductor.
Yeah.
Louis hated it. I don't see John Travolta playing a role like that.
I'll tell you another role that was, I've heard this in an interview. Ed O'Neill was about to play Stephen Keaton in Family Ties and he was the one that brought,
Oop, where'd you go? Oh dear.
Yeah, he's the one that brought Michael Gross in. And it's like, here's the thing. Ed O'Neill, big, muscular dude.
Well, Ed O'Neill had a little bit of a belly going on.
Well, he did, but no, big. He did, but I'm talking about a big, blue-collar looking. That's Al Bundy.
Yeah.
Big, blue-collar guy. I mean, plus now he's a black belt. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So it's like, he is a ruffian. He was the quarterback. He's all that. And then you get wimpy Stephen Keaton, who I think they put a beard on him just to make him look like he had testosterone. It didn't work very well. But I'm just saying, it's like, I think if you put Ed O'Neill in that role, that doesn't go a year. Family Ties.
No.
Put Ed O'Neill as Al Bundy. No, put Michael Gross as Al Bundy. Same thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like it's casting.
First of all, Michael Gross is too much of an intellectual. He's kind of an effete intellectual.
Yeah.
Okay. And married to Peg? I don't think so.
Oh yeah. Oh,
exactly. And then having Kelly and Bud as children?
No, that Ed O'Neill would. You believe that?
Yes, Ed O'Neill would. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's probably 100. I can't think off the top of my head of any others that you think about them, you go, huh? Who is that? Who in the world, cast is that? But those are the peoples that kind of, because that's casting works. You go with a name. You go with who's the hottest thing ever. Then you put them in the role, and then you realize, or you read for them, and you realize, oh no, that is completely not the case. But only because we know that, and we think that way, because the one that was cast and made it successful is so different from the initial thing.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, and the biggest thing is, I think a Jack Reacher with the Tom Cruise. He's 5'6". Jack Reacher's supposed to be 6'5" and 240. And it's like, and so they make a Jack Reacher with the guy who's 6'5", 240 legitimate. But here's the thing, he doesn't have Tom Cruise's acting chops. So he just does not. So you got to find an in between.
Well, which is why this is what happens sometimes, who are trying to cast a person who is sort of an athlete, who's definitely got a performance vibe about them. They know how to play a sport. They have a look. Are they able to emote and be on cue and be in the moment and be connected to the partner, to their character and partner? No. I've seen superhero movies that cast a certain person, was going to cast a certain person in a role, and she just didn't have the chops. But you do have to find the happy medium. Okay. Yeah. And not all actors are going to have these big, bulky, athletic bodies. Well, that's not what they necessarily do.
Well, that's what made Merlin Olsen. So the one thing about sports is what made Merlin Olsen good. He said, I can hit marks like that because that's what you did. And it's like, that's what you did in sports. It's like he could hit marks. So he said, I'm not pretending to be an actor. Well, the actors were appreciative of that. Then they would tell him what to do and they'd get him and all that stuff. And he's like, well, I can hit marks like nothing and I could get all that. Those were the things. But also, you just did one-dimensional things with Merlin also. He was the flower guy. He was the guy who sold flowers. So he's he's a gentle giant. So you put him in gentle giant roles.
Sure.
And,
I mean, you can't see him playing a schizophrenic.
No, but you can't see Chuck Norris being a romantic hero. Nope. So you do it. Well, you know something? This has been, oh, by the way, Lisa Marie's dead.
Shit fire, really?
Just found out now.
Oh my God. What in the God's name is going on in this world?
Yeah. But.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Bless her heart.
I know. And
she was just, oh no, what a horrible way to.
54.
That's how old Adam Rich was.
Yep.
I had the biggest crush. Okay, 10 more minutes. Let's just go 10 more minutes.
But I'm going to be going back and down. So we'll do 10, okay?
Yeah, okay. Adam Rich, bless his heart. I'm going to click off this and just because I just want to say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do right now. Adam Rich, did you ever watch 8 is Enough?
Sure. I've seen it.
I grew up watching that show along with like Family Ties. I mean, I loved Michael J. Fox for what he was and everything.
Even if he was a Republican?
Huh?
Even if he was a Republican?
Well, I didn't care about that in those days.
Yeah.
But Adam Rich was cute. He was my first TV crush. Oh, I had little magazine pictures of him up the wall. He was like 12, and I was, oh my God, I so wanted to meet him. He came out as gay a few years back and struggled with that, and it was just so very sad that actors have to deal with that shit, elements of their personal lives.
It's getting better. It's getting better though.
It's getting better, but that doesn't, there's been a lot of harm and a lot of damage. But it's just shit. Well, and Adam Rich and now Lisa Marie, and we'll just these are youngish people. I mean, I'm talking about people who are old, like 93. Barbara Walters, bless her. Okay.
Yeah.
She made it to 93. You got to give that to her.
Absolutely.
Or someone who's made it into their 80s.
Yeah.
Or 90 and 91, in that rig, but people in their 40s and 50s who are kicking it right now.
Yeah.
And younger. That little athlete, what's her name? Victoria Lee? Did anybody ever find out what happened to her?
18 years old. Yeah.
Whatever happened to her? Did anybody find out what happened to her?
Nope. But they just collapsed. I don't know what's going on. There's another kid from Air Force Academy who was going to class and he passed. He did collapsed.
Well, I mean, I don't know what is going on in this world right now.
Well, we're gonna have a topic next week about that. We are, but because next week we're gonna bring up. I wanted to bring this to the viewer. Next week we're gonna have a topic, and it's gonna be we're gonna have real talk, the vaccine versus not getting it, and what COVID did versus we're gonna have real talk. We're not gonna have what you see on the news. It's like you're going to get either, oh my God, you took the vaccine, his heart's bad, or they didn't take the vaccine, the COVID got him. We're getting it either way, and there needs to be real conversation on this. Nothing from news, nothing from internet. You need to have real conversation because by itself, we're getting both sides of that story, and we don't know what happens. The thing is, the human body is breaking apart because both the vaccine and people didn't take it, and both people because by itself, I took it myself, and I haven't even had an effect other than like 102 fever for one day. So somebody's getting affected. Some people may not have taken it, but some people have taken it and they've collapsed.
But do you suppose it could be that and a combination of something else?
Yeah, because you got to remember. Here's another thing too. There are people that taken lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of medicine.
Right.
And then it's like it's
And
probably
also, these athletes are probably on God knows what kind of performance enhancing drugs.
it could easily be. It could easily
Okay.
be,
And that
yeah,
could be breaking their bodies down like nothing
it could
else.
be the mix. It could be the mix.
Yeah.
It could
And
be the
until
mix.
an autopsy's done, it's just conjecture.
Well, and you know something, we're gonna have that's gonna be one of our big conversations next week because we've got to stop accusing. We got to stop accusing between not getting the vaccine and getting the vaccine. We got to quit accusing of all that because both of them have collapsed.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah, all the time. And it's like, you know something? It's both of them are collapsing. Both of them are dying. Both getting the vaccine and not. There needs to be conversation on this.
Well, yeah. So, on this not so happy note, I'm afraid I hate ending the show on a downer,
I
but
know.
we got to go. It's been almost an hour and a half, and I need a bathroom break bad.
We have had a wonderful show. And we are going to keep talking. We get into the town, when we get into the film, we're going to do this a lot more.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and for TJ, I'm Jacob Christner, and you have a wonderful night, and we hope you continue to enjoy.
Thank you all for tuning in, everyone. Have a great Thursday.
Take care. Bye-bye.